All right, let's see. Do I have audio? Do I have video? Okay. Hang on. Come on, YouTube. And... wait. Commercial. And skip. Yes, am I live? Am I live? Yes, it is. I'm live. It's the Nazarite bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. Hey, Thinking Time is here. How you doing, man? How are you doing? All right. Oh, you know what? I wanted to bring a different pillow. It doesn't matter. Okay. All right. Hey, Garfield is here. Good evening to you, Garfield, in the UK. People, since you're the first ones here, what do you say? Should I... Mr. Z is here. How you doing, man? So if either one of you has a suggestion for what poll I should poll people, so let's do that. Love the hat. Yeah, so it's actually a bicycle helmet. I asked my woman, hey, are any other silly hats? And she said, here, take this bicycle helmet and stick a fake flower in it, and there you go. And she's a silly lady. She knows what she's doing. Hello, you pretty sunflower, says KS. Hey, how you doing? Wow, man. I'll tell you. Someone said, Monkey said, we need to have a podcast with this dude and Abraham Baruch. I don't know who Abraham Baruch is. If somebody could fill me in. I'm not sure who that is. Ignore Me said, I have learned that peace in the Middle East is not possible as long as Israel exists. I truly believe Israel needs to be dismantled and the land returned to its proper owner. So that was about an hour ago. I sent him a message. He hasn't seen it yet. He or she haven't seen it yet. But it's like, okay, who's the rightful owner? What does it mean to own a land? Silly versus serious. Life would be funnier if we were all a little more absurd. Okay, so let's see. Hang on a second. Life should be serious or silly. There you go. No other options. Let's just go with that. There you go. Life should be serious or silly. 100% silly. All right. I like where this is going. Okay. Now, on a serious note, ironically, tomorrow is Holocaust Remembrance Day. Tomorrow there will be a siren for 1 minute. I think it's at 11 a.m. It happens not the air raid siren that goes up and down, but a flat siren. Unlike the air raid siren that goes up and down. So there's a siren in Israel a couple of times a year on Holocaust Remembrance Day at 11 a.m. on basically fallen soldiers and police and security forces, intelligence forces Remembrance Day. That's at night, 8 p.m. 1 minute, and then at the following morning, 11 a.m. a 2-minute siren. But unlike the air raid siren, it's a flat and not an up and down. Love from Dublin, Yedidi. Thanks, Emmanuel. Thanks a bunch. Right, so regarding Ignore Me, who was talking about that before Israel, that peace in the Middle East is not possible as long as Israel exists, I asked him, in your opinion, who is the proper owner? And also, this land has been taken and retaken and conquered and reconquered by different armies and different kingdoms and different nations. It's like, really? And what about, forget all the thousands of years before that? What about the beginning to middle of the 20th century itself? Does he claim there was actual peace there? There wasn't peace there. I mean, there wasn't all-out war, but there definitely wasn't peace. You know what I'm saying? It didn't seem like that anyway. But okay. 7 votes so far. Serious at 14% and silly at 86%. I like where this is going, people. And thank you, Garfield, for the suggestion. Thoughts on fallen angels and their creation, the Nephilim, James Taylor asks. Well, I'll tell you. I think we have like the traditional midrashic external teachings idea of Og, the king of the Bashan of the Emori, being the last one of the Nephilim, and that they were indeed these fallen angels who wanted to sort of experience the human way of experiencing creation, And so they decided to come down, even though angels are not meant to have traditionally freedom of choice and the will and the desire. Angels traditionally have their one task. They know things that have to do that pertain to that one task that they are tasked with, and that's it. It seems that there were other sorts of angels, at least in the beginning, right? Like the Samech Mem, like Uza and Azael, who the Midrash says are those Nephilim. Or the angels that the Nephilim, right? HaNephilim hayu ba'aretz. And that idea of the daughters of man and the combination between them. My thoughts is that I haven't studied those verses in depth enough with proper commentary in order to have a more well-rounded opinion. I will just say that we know that, at least in traditional thought, there is the idea of spiritual entities. And likewise, there is the idea of physical entities. And in some ways, demons and angels are like people, and in some ways, angels and demons are like, are detached. The thing is that demons, they say 3 things they are like angels, and 3 things they are like humans. And so we see that there is a kind of connection between the demonic world and the human world, if you will, that has to do with them as such. Now, fallen angels, or were they demons to begin with, or were they angels who became demons, right? Like the Samech Mem, right? The Samech Mem, they say, was the highest seraph, and some say that he had 12 wings, where the other ones had 6, and yet he went astray. He sort of rebelled, if you will, even though angels are not supposed to have free will. Angels are not supposed to have that freedom of choice. There was something there about those first, let's say, generations of creation after Eden, right? And before the flood. Some things there were not all the way, what's the word I'm looking for? They were not as permanent, if you will. For instance, there is the idea that the earth was not tilted on its axis, and then the flood is what caused it to have a tilt on its axis. And then that's why it says, right, Kaitz v'choref, kor v'chom, that's why at the end of the flood, the seasons and the weather are mentioned, because it's a direct result of what was going on there on the earth, okay? In the very same way, the earth sort of solidified to some degree, let's say tilt on its axis, and stayed solid and permanent in that way. In the very same way that certain things happened physically after the flood, other things may have happened spiritually and metaphysically, sort of after the flood, where they came to a sort of state of permanence, if you will. And so we see in the 10 generations between Adam and Noah, there were different things going on. We had Hanoch being taken away, and we had the Nephilim, right, and the daughters of humans, or the daughters of man. It's something that I haven't studied properly enough in depth, but that's basically, those are my initial thoughts on it. Enjoying welfare, says Hugo. No, I'm not on welfare. Thank God for that. I have a day job, a career, and I'm very, very happy about that. Life should be seriously silly when it's silliness serious right now, says Eiler. Hey, Eiler. So 22 votes, 64% silly, 36% serious. Okay. That's okay. Imagine being in Israel, an Israeli total ignorance, said Zoom 12A. Really? I'm totally ignorant as an Israeli? First of all, I am highly ignorant. Let's have no mistake about that. But me being Israeli has nothing to do with my ignorance. That's simply me doing my thing. It's not a question of ignorance. Right, Lucifer, says David Peake. So Lucifer, I think his name is the light bearer, and that's what that means. But there is no Lucifer in the Hebrew Bible. There is what's called the Nachash, right, the snake, the primordial serpent. And it's said in the external traditions that it was the Samech Mem angel who was sort of riding the physical snake, or metaphysical snake. I have vanilla ice cream and Dutch apple pie, says James Bong. Hey, James Bong, good to see you again. Bro, did you see that flower on your head, says Base. Yes, I have seen it. My wife put it there. Demons isn't in the Bible, rather devils, says David Peake. Right, so shedim as a word does exist in the Torah. Shedim as a word does exist in the Torah, and so it is a kind of origin. And you could say that in that particular context it means foreign deities, But you could also say that it means, and in that area, in that verse and in other verses, you could say that demons are mentioned, perhaps not in the very same way that they get into in the external traditions or in the Zohar, let's say, right? It's sort of alluded to in some way and not discussed specifically, because primarily the Torah deals with this life, with this world, with this place, and it doesn't deal, right, with any kind of afterlife, and it doesn't really deal with the idea of angels and demons. They exist in the sense that we know that there are divine messengers. God tells the people of Israel that his name is in one of those angels, and so do not rebel against it. Listen to what it says, and it will bring you to the land, and that whole thing. So we know the angelic side of things does exist in some facet, in some way in Torah by name. Demons are more alluded to. As for devils, it doesn't say stanim. It says shedim, right, which is demons. So while it's not the traditional understanding of demons as versus angels, right, as messengers of a demonic force, messengers of the counter force of good, messengers of the left side, the other side, the dark side, it is alluded to as such. Beelzebub maintains the devils. So Baal Zvuv, Ginger Cookie Crew. Hey, Ginger Cookie. So Beelzebub, again, not mentioned, I think, in the Torah. The king of the demons, or the devils, is usually known as Ashmedai. There are a few higher ups. They are mentioned in Pardes Rimonim and in other Kabbalistic texts, right, in the Zohar, that there's a hierarchy. There are different halls, different chambers, right, of the demonic realm, things like that. Where are these demons, says Incognito? So the demonic world and the angelic world, the higher realms, right, and the lower realms, they all exist in parallel with this world. We are the physical world, the world of good and evil. We are at the end of one hierarchy, but in the very center of, let's say, a bullseye. So in some ways we are the very bottom, and in other ways we are the very center. It's different ways of looking at creation, right? Looking at it as a straight line or looking at it as circles. But that more has to do with Lurianic Kabbalah. So where are they? The thing is, the Talmud, for instance, says that there is a ritual that you can perform. I won't say it right now, but there is a ritual you can perform if you want to see the demons and the spiritual entities that are around you. Even right now in this very room, if I performed that ritual, I could, put something in my eye, and I would be able to see the demons that are all around me. Things like that. I wouldn't do it, and I don't recommend that you do it. Please don't do it. It's nothing you want to screw around with. It's like that movie Flatliners. You don't want to screw around with that. So that's where they are. They are here and not here. They exist in parallel, right? In the very same way where, let's say, when you take a psychedelic substance, it dissolves or changes some of the filters through which you view reality. And so you can taste sounds and you can see smells and things of that nature. In the very same way, you can manipulate the different filters by which or through which you view reality, and you will be able to converse, interact with demons, with angels. The thing is, are you worthy? If you're worthy of it, you can invoke them without any kind of ritual. If you are worthy, then you can invoke proper sacred names, right? And so on and so forth. If you're not worthy, that may not be the best thing to do. One of my rabbis back in the day, 20-something years ago in Tzfat, told me that it very much is a technical thing. This invoking of names, of angels, of demons, of forces, of powers, of entities. And he said anybody can technically do it, but if you're not worthy, it is something that will come back to haunt you, so to speak. But it will come back and get you, right? I've never tried to do that. I'm not a Kabbalist. Would you ever try LSD or shrooms if it guaranteed enlightenment? I've tried LSD and mushrooms, Mr. Fingers 896. Not for guaranteeing any enlightenment, but simply as a supplement to what already is a spiritual life. And I have always said the bulk of a person's psychedelic experiences, mind-revealing and soul-revealing experiences, should come from within, from prayer, from fasting, from meditation, from doing good deeds, keeping the Torah, carrying out the commandments, generally being a good person and living humbly. That should be what reveals you to yourself in earnest. If you want to supplement that occasionally, let's say, with something organic, something synthetic, which is supposed to be mind-revealing and psychedelic, right? then by all means do it. Set and setting, educate yourself, use harm reduction, test your drugs, all of that. All of that should be in place. But I definitely have tried LSD and mushrooms, and I've never had a bad trip because, thank God, by the grace of the Most High, I've been able to have my set and setting properly oriented and properly in place. And, I never had a bad trip thanks to that. Okay. If I drink alcohol, I can see angels and demons, says Incognito. Alcohol is one of those things where there is elevation, but there is also something bad about it, right? There's the happy and joyous and elated person who is tipsy, and then there's the passed out, drunk, lying in their own sick at 2 in the morning on a street corner kind of alcohol drinker. The one time where alcohol is, let's say, encouraged, at least more than one usually would, to drink, is during Purim, during the holiday of Purim. But even that's a dispute. Even that's a machloket. So drinking alcohol, it depends. Look, any drug and any substance that you put into yourself that changes the chemicals in your brain, that alters your perception, it all has to do primarily with the person that you are, right? The things that are inside of you, that is what comes out. And I'm making a very broad generalization right here. So drinking alcohol, some people, it turns them into drunks and liars and thieves and alcoholics. And other people, they're able to drink like gentlemen, as they say, and get a nice buzz going and be more social and be more lubricated and be more together, you know what I'm saying? Like in a Hasidic hitva'adut, in the Farbrengen, right? Where there's a lot of joy and music and alcohol, and it's the coming together of friends, and it's the coming together of and learning Torah together, singing songs together, chanting hymns together, and that is fueled many times by alcohol. But that is a kind of elevated place of alcohol, and we know from the Torah and we know from the rest of the Bible that wine can be a very detrimental thing, but it can also be a very joyous and wonderful thing. It all depends on the individual. It comes back always to the individual. So I have no idea what you would do if you drink alcohol. What is it you would see? What is it you would not see? I haven't had alcohol in over 15 years, but at the time when I did drink, alcohol was never something that was a psychedelic. I never had any psychedelic experiences with alcohol. No, you know what? I did when doing it really within measure, let's say in a wedding, or let's say during a Hasidic hitva'adut, right, a coming together. Let's continue. How long ago did you get kicked out of the Orthodox Church? I'm not in the Orthodox Church. What are you talking about? I'm not a Christian, so I'm not part of any church. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. Oh, that tastes so good. Oh, I forgot to put lemon. That's all right. Let's look. 93 votes so far. Life should be silly, 60% say. Life should be serious, say 40% of you. Okay. Can you answer what's on your head? Oh, it's a bicycle helmet with a little flower. That's like a little thing that This, by the way, I bought. I used to work at Toys R Us. I worked at Toys R Us here in Jerusalem. I was a shift manager, for 3 years. I started off as just a cash register, and then on the floor, and then over time, I became a shift manager, and kind of a second in command for the branch that I was working in. And I bought this. I bought this for 10 shekel, I think, at the time, because it reminded me of my woman. So that's what I did. Okay. How many UGs did you take? I don't recall. It's been a long time since I did acid. I don't know, actually. I can't tell you. I don't really remember. J-Dad says, it's all about your mindset, bro. What are you trying to accomplish? I like to talk to my dad when I drink. I see him once in a while and it makes me happy. I see him every once in a while and it makes me happy. Good. Hey, if your father is still alive and, you're in good relationship with him, give him a call. Tell him you love him. Reminisce about something and talk about the future. Having a father around is a wonderful and amazing thing. Take advantage of it. Likewise with your mother, with your siblings, those who are close to you. If you have a friend who you haven't seen in a while or you sort of are out of touch with, but you get the thought, oh, maybe I should give him a call. Maybe I should send him or her a text. Do it. Follow up on it. You never know what you will do that's seemingly something very small, but can make someone's day or week or month or pull them back or pull them out of a bad place that they're in. I like your terms, says my theology. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Oh my God, I was just talking about Toys R Us, says J Dad. Really, you were? So yeah, I worked there for 3 years. Worked there for 3 years. Um, I mean, it was fun in the sense that I got to live out a few childhood fantasies. As a kid, you always want to, work in a toy store, and I definitely did live out a few childhood fantasies working in a toy store. Not to mention that when the holiday of Purim rolled around and all of the different costumes came in, because people dress up for the holiday of Purim, and I used to dress up in all kinds of Disney princess outfits, and I would scare the crap out of so many kids. Oh my God. So much fun. So much fun. I mean, I also, classic story, classic story. So, this grandmother and her grandson are coming to the cash register. I had long hair at the time. I didn't have dreads yet, but I grew out my hair for a couple of years before I took my vow. And they arrive at the cash register in Toys R Us, and the kid has long hair. And so she turns to him and she says, "You see, he has long hair," pointing at me. "He has long hair, but that's just because of Purim. It's a wig." And I turn to her and I go, "No, it's not." Oh, it was so good. Such a win for that guy. Okay. Hmm, that was a great one. Okay. Are you Jewish? Yes, I am. Yosef Yulman? Yosef Yulman. Yes, I am Jewish. Did you also get a house in Lebanon? Says player. No, the closest I ever got to Lebanon was when I was still in the IDF, and I was there on the border patrolling. That's the closest I got to Lebanon, so I guess I got to the Lebanese border. But I did get some, I did get the view of the UN people there. So that's the closest I got. Incidentally, when we were on the Syrian border some other time, I walked down to the bunker just to check it out, clean it up, make sure it's all good, And there was a Toys R Us bag there. And that was during when I was working at Toys R Us. I had a couple of weeks, or more than a couple of weeks, on the Syrian border as part of my reserve duty. And I arrived there, and my work followed me there. There was a Toys R Us bag inside of a bunker on the Syrian border. I go down to the bunker to tidy it up. I look at that thing. I'm like, oh my God, followed me here. J-Dad says, I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. There's 1 million toys at Toys R Us that I can play with. That's nice. I don't know if that's a jingle or I don't know what. Interestingly, so I had two fantasies as far as working in a place. The first one was, hey, let's work in a toy store. As a kid, you want to work at the toy store. And like I said, I did that for a few years. The second thing is when I was a teenager, getting heavily into Pink Floyd and, and classic rock and stuff, thanks to my parents. And there was a store that I used to frequent called The Eighth Note, which has since closed. But I said, oh my God, it must be really cool to work in a music store. And after Toys R Us, that's what I did. I worked in a music store. I worked in that different branch, and also that branch of a music of the same company, of The Eighth Note. So I had a childhood fantasy that I lived out, and I had a teenager fantasy that I lived out. Hello, my friend, says Shield. I think you need a mod to take care of this unfriendly comments. Greetings to you and family. Thanks. No moderation, no banning, no censorship, no filtering, no timeouts, nothing. It's a free platform. Everybody say what you want. The haters, the spammers, the lovers, the encouragers, the ones who are spewing whatever, the ones who want to have a conversation. I'm sorry if it comes at your expense, but I want to keep this free, wild. I really, really do. At the cost perhaps of people who would have proper conversation, which is why I say, if I don't get to you in the chat, my apologies. Sincerely, leave a comment. I address every single comment that is addressed to me. So please leave a comment if I don't get to you in the chat. I'm not intentionally ignoring you. I'm not filtering you. I'm not shadow banning you. I'm not just intentionally not taking your question. There are over 200 people here right now. Hello, people. But I can't get to every single chat. It's moving fairly rapidly. I look at the laptop, I see a question, I look at the phone, I address it, and so on. So if I don't get to you, my apologies, but do leave a comment. You'll see if you go to any one of my live streams, any one of my videos, you'll see me replying to every single comment that I can. Okay. Why are you ignoring me more than you do your hygiene? Hey, NOS Child is here. Hi, man. It was good to see you. So NOS Child claims that I need to shower, that I need to bathe. If you want to see, I tagged him. I was going to tag you, by the way, NOS Child. I can't tag you for some reason. I don't know why, but I was going to tag you in a post that I made. Was it this morning or yesterday? So my hygiene, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't use a brush and I don't use a comb, which causes the hair to lock up, but I do shower regularly and I shampoo and condition regularly. You don't have to worry about my hygiene. I don't smell like, like 3-day-old vomit on the street corner. It's all good, really. My wife and kids would not be able to stand me if I stunk to high heavens on a regular basis. So yeah, let's continue. What are your thoughts, asks 0419, in the religious context regarding homosexuality and the trans movement? So I've mentioned homosexuality many times in the past because it's come up so many times. Technically speaking, the commandment is against two men of the Jewish faith who engage in anal sex. That is the thing which is called an abomination. Now, it's been extrapolated through halacha and rabbinic law that all types of same-sex relationships are forbidden. But the actual commandment is against anal sex. The Torah does not tell you who to be in love with. The Torah doesn't tell you who to be attracted to. The Torah does not tell you who to have feelings towards. The Torah tells you specifically, if you're two men and you're Hebrews, you may not have anal sex. You may not penetrate fully the anus of another man if you're a man. That is the prohibition, technically speaking. Orthodox halacha, rabbinic law, sort of expanded the radius of that to homosexuality being something that is a no-no at large. The thing is this, if you look at the prophets, many, many times they mention social injustice, and they mention not freeing the slaves, and they mention worshipping foreign deities, and they mention not keeping the Sabbath, and they mention not being honest and genuine and humble. Not once does a prophet in the Hebrew Bible mention homosexuality as far as I know, and if they do, it's not in the context of Israel, but maybe perhaps in the context of the nations. And so if I look at face value, right, strictly at what is it that the Torah cares about, right, it's actually written that you should love thy neighbor and love thy God explicitly. It doesn't say you should not love another man, you should not be attracted to another man explicitly. Now, it might be me nitpicking, but I'm a nitpicker. I pick and choose everything. I cherry pick everything and I make no apologies. And so I choose to cherry pick right now and say I care more about loving my neighbor and loving somebody who might be a homosexual, not intimately romantically. I mean, having not condemning him for that, as opposed to, because I'm not in his bedroom. I don't know if he's having anal sex with another man or not. If he tells me I'm attracted to men, does that go against the Torah? No. If you tell me you're not loving your neighbor, does that go against the Torah? It just might, depending on the context. And I would rather go with what is a definite, which is love thy neighbor, than something which is a maybe, which is he might be having anal sex with some dude behind closed doors that I don't even know of. I'm not articulating myself properly and fully right now. I simply see that humans are humans, and love thy neighbor is such an amazing and wonderful and all-encompassing commandment, not at every cost, but when it comes to something like a homosexual relationship or trans people, I'm like, you know what? I see the human first. They're human first. Before they are gay, before they are lesbian, before they are trans, they are humans. Now, does it mean that I treat them precisely how they would want or demand me to treat them? No. Does it mean I will use their pronouns? Depends, maybe, maybe not. Depends on the context and the scenario. Depends on the situation. But I will say, first and foremost, they are human beings made in the image of God, and that is how I approach the situation. Of them as human beings made in the image of God. They fall short of the mark. I fall short of the mark. They are a sinner. I am a sinner. Why should I condemn them? Why should I call them an abomination when I don't even know for a fact that they are engaging in the thing which practically the Torah said is not allowed? Do you see what I'm saying here? And now some people might say, no, that's a cop-out, and you're full of shit, and what the hell are you talking about? But I honestly do see that as a valid point to make when it comes to homosexuality. As for the trans movement, I think that there are, halakhically speaking, there's the gender and sex that you are born into. There are people who are intersex, right? We know that there's zachar v'nekeva, male and female. There's also elonit, right? And there are a few other, let's say, genders, if you will, or sexes in halacha. There are like 4 or 5 of them, if I'm not mistaken. And so we see that it is halakhically speaking a spectrum, right? For instance, Elonit is somebody who is an underdeveloped, sexually underdeveloped, right? That is an Elonit, a sexually underdeveloped female, right? A sexually underdeveloped woman. And so there are halachic implications there with an Elonit. There are halachic implications with an androgynous, right? An androgynous person. There are halachic implications of a tom-tom, which is somebody whose genitals are sealed over. Something like that. I mean, it's a halachic term. You can look it up. Tom-tom, androgynous, Elonit. These are halachic terms, which means that it's not so simple, halachically speaking, as to just, now, they are the minority, they are an anomaly, granted, yes, male and female, masculine, feminine, yin, yang, that whole thing. But halachically speaking, there is a type of spectrum. Now, if you're talking about sexual attraction, if you're talking about sexual identity and expression, that's a whole other thing. If you're talking about I was born in the wrong body dysmorphia, that's above my pay grade. I don't know. The religious context is, first of all, it's a human being. Treat it like a human being. And otherwise, I'd have to take it on a case-by-case basis. Really. It's like, tell me the scenario, give me the circumstances, tell me the facts, show me the data, and I'll tell you what I think. But I don't have a pre-packaged answer, not really, because I've seen too many people act horribly to other people just because they're trans, just because they're gay, just because they think that God is on their side, and God told them that that is an abomination. I'm like, I just don't think like that. I can't, because I've seen what happens. I've seen what happens when people think like that. It does not lead to good things. And that's, maybe it's that hate the sin and not the sinner. Maybe it's that spirit of the law, letter of the law thing, which is why I'm saying, if people say, hey, Yonatan, that's just a cop-out, I say, okay, maybe it's a cop-out, but it's me. It's a work in progress. I'm trying to work through it because it is indeed a complex issue. Sexuality of a person, whether it's their actual biological sex or whether it's their expression, it's a delicate and gentle thing. It has to do with who we are as people. And I'm not going to sort of denigrate an entire population willy-nilly just like that. It's simply not something I think I'm supposed to do. But, okay. Agree to disagree is not a cop-out. Hey, Stinky Farter is here. Hey, Stinky Farter, how have your farts been lately? Stone Smurf, hey, Nazarite, for those non-Hebrews, the blessing you said when you drank, is it a written blessing that people repeat? Yes. It is a written blessing. Most of the blessings, what's called the birkot hanehenin, the blessings of pleasure, things that you eat, things that you drink, things that you enjoy, like incense, right? Or food, or drink, or wine, or bread. Those each have their own unique blessing. The blessings are pretty much formatted by our sages at the Second Temple era, or codified at the time. And there are also blessings for things that you see. There are blessings for things like thunder and lightning. There are blessings for things you experience, like an earthquake. There are blessings for a place where you had a miracle happen to you. There's a blessing when you see a king of the nations. There's a blessing when you see the king of Israel. There's a blessing when you see the king Messiah. Anyway, different blessings, many, many different blessings. So it is scripted. I do have a few blessings that are non-scripted. For instance, the grace after meals, what's known as the blessing on the food after you eat, because in some cases, if you have enough food of a certain type, I won't go into the whole halachic thing, but you're supposed to say a grace after meals, a long one or a short one, right? Birkat hamazon or al hamichya, depending on what you had, depending on if it was a proper meal or just something on the go. It's a whole thing. The point is, it was too long in the sense of that I found too many times, too many people sitting around the table after they'd finished eating, and they wouldn't hear the speech. It would be reading it out of a book. So I said, no, I want to take what it says in the Torah and really, really kind of make it short and to the point where I convey what I want to convey. So I do make up a few blessings. I also make up prayers on a regular basis because I believe in hitbodedut, the spontaneous prayer, the spontaneous dialogue, right? That's my prayer. I don't pray from a prayer book usually. Okay, let's continue. Do you read fantasy? I mean, I like Harry Potter. I like Lord of the Rings. I liked The Hobbit. But no, I don't read fantasy by and large. No, I'm not against it, but no. What made you Jewish? Being born to a Jewish mother is what made me Jewish primarily. Yes. Primarily, that's what made me Jewish. Difference between the Jews and Christians, says are they like completely different? They differ on a few key fundamental things. So yes, I would say they are completely different in some things, but not very different in other things. So that's it. That's what I have to say. Christians do the same. Oh, wait, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, the chat just jumped. I'm sorry. Everyone thinks you're kicking butt. Keep talking, says J-Dad. Thanks, I appreciate that. What do you have to say about Israel bombing Palestinian schools, says Bluey? I say, Hamas, don't put rockets, munitions, and headquarters in schools, and they won't be bombed. If they're bombed accidentally, of course, that's a tragedy. If they're bombed and even intentionally and innocent people get injured or killed, that also is a tragedy. But take it up with Hamas. Hamas are the ones who put their munitions, headquarters, rockets, and other things, right, and their freedom fighter buddies in mosques and hospitals and schools and private residences. They take their own population, they use them as human shields, put them in the line of fire, because every innocent man, woman, and child who gets killed is a joy and a blessing for Hamas to use as propaganda. They glorify death. They are a disgusting death cult. And that's what I have to say to that. Okay, let's continue. Brainwashed, wow, says Aaron. Okay, you could call me brainwashed. Prove it. Why am I brainwashed? You think Hamas don't place headquarters, munitions, and freedom-fighting terrorists inside of mosques, schools, hospitals, and private residences? You don't think they use their population as human shields? You don't think they're happy about every single one who dies for the cause in the name of Allah? I think you're mistaken. I can prove it. I have 80 years nearly of history to prove it, and more, before the establishment of the State of Israel. Gila says, hello, I want to ask for advice. Don't come to me for advice. I'll address it, but I don't advise. Let's say I'm 23. Should I go to medical school for 7 years? Or should I try out my business idea, which will give me economical freedom? Well, basically, if you think that your business idea, if you can give it a good shot, and then if it fails, still go to med school, maybe do that first. But if you think there's a chance that because you go for your business idea, then it will bar you in the future from med school, then you'll have to equate the two and see which one do you want more. You're young, you're 23. Supposedly you have time to do both, but I have no idea. Also, don't forget, you could go to med school, become a physician, have the career, and then when you have an established career, after, I don't know, God knows how long, you'll be able to do that as a side gig whenever you have the time. Again, God knows when. But if you've got a business idea, it really does depend on the idea. I say, talk to a physician and talk to a businessman and see what they say, because they are already living that life. And they will be able to tell you, right, oh, you should do this, you should do that, I advise you do this, I advise you do that. Also, you will be able to talk to someone locally as opposed to some rando with a flower and a bicycle helmet on his head, on a Monday night. Is the Jewish faith strict, says It depends who you ask. There are Orthodox Jews, there are conservative Jews, Reform Jews, Reconstructionist Jews, Neo-Hasidic Jews. I will say that Orthodoxy is where I grew up. It is very strict, yes. I personally have stepped a little bit away from keeping strict rabbinic law, but for many years I kept strict rabbinic law. It is indeed strict. It's a path, it's a way, it's a wonderful thing. It is, truly. It can teach you a lot about yourself. It's a discipline that is worth immersing oneself in. I simply couldn't do it. I did it until I was in my mid-20s, and then there was a kind of a breakdown regarding things that were happening in my life and in Israel, with religion, with politics, all kinds of things. That's in part why I took a step away from keeping strict halacha, but I do not rule out going back to keeping strict Orthodox law in the future. It's my root, it's my home, it always will be. Let's continue. Thoughts on the two-state solution, says Olafson. I'm in favor of it, but I don't know if it can actually happen. I hope that it could. Look, when it initially was proposed by the UN in 1947, we said yes. We said yes to a two-state solution. The thing is that Israel needs to be recognized by its enemies as here to stay, right? Egypt recognized Israel, we have peace. Jordan recognized Israel, we have peace. Other enemies have not, and they are losing war after war after war. They simply won't get the message. Israel is here. We are staying. We're not going anywhere. And if, let's say, like it says in the Torah, we turn away from the covenant, we turn away from God, and God kicks us out of the land again, we will be making a comeback again. That's it. We are a constant, right? We exist, we persist, we are a thorn in billions of people's sides, Christians and Muslims alike. But we are here, make no mistake, and we're not going anywhere. But I would love to have a two-state solution in the sense of Palestinians, dwellers of Gaza, dwellers of the West Bank of the Jordan, and dwellers of the State of Israel living side by side in peace and prosperity with justice for all. I would love that. May it happen? Could it happen? I have no idea. Do you wear phylacteries, says SC. Interestingly enough, today I had a discussion with someone in the comments on the phylacteries. So I wore my tefillin, or the phylacteries, until my mid-30s, and then a few years into my vow, I was moved to stop wearing it, and then later on I found, let's put it this way, the Nazarite does not wear tefillin, or they wear tefillin all day. That's basically it. So I do not wear phylacteries because the Nazarite's crown grows from within. But the phylacteries are a crown of leather and parchment that come from without, external. The Nazarite's crown is internal. In the very same way that we don't wear tefillin on Shabbos or at the Musaf of the new moon or on holidays, in the very same way the Nazarite does not wear tefillin. Or that he wears it all day. It's a controversy, it's a machloket, right? It's a point of controversy and a difference of opinion. Most Orthodox rabbis would say that, would disagree with me, and rightly so. But the Nazarite corresponds with a specific divine revelation which does not wear tefillin. Let's put it that way. Okay, let's continue. Nazarite wear tefillin as well. That's nonsense. No, that is not nonsense. That is not nonsense. I'm telling you right here, right now. Simsim, Nazarites can wear tefillin, and some Nazarites do not. And I spoke about this with Rav Yehoshua Friedman, the Nazarite rabbi of the Temple Institute here in Jerusalem, and he corroborated what I had spoken with Rav Nazir Gavriel David years before that. So you may think it's nonsense, by all means do. Like I just said, most halacha-keeping Orthodox people would disagree with me. By all means do. Okay? If you look into the Zohar, if you look into Pardes Rimonim and other Kabbalistic texts, you'll be able to see that there is a great asmachta for the Nazarite not to wear tefillin. However, halacha is not ruled according to the Zohar. Halacha is not ruled according to Kabbalistic texts. It's ruled according to the Mishnah, the Talmud, Rishonim, Achronim, and so on. So, I understand everybody who says, no, you're full of crap, that's nonsense, you're supposed to wear tefillin like every other human being. I felt called, of my own accord, organically, inside, to stop wearing the tefillin. Now, I took my vow 15 years ago, just over 15 years ago. And I wore the tefillin for the first, I think 5 or 7 years, I don't really recall. And only then, when I started feeling something inside of me calling to me to stop wearing the tefillin, did I have to reconcile the inner conflict, and I investigated why that might be, and I arrived at all of these asmachtot from actual physical Orthodox rabbis and very ancient texts. This is not something I did on a whim. This is not something I did to unburden myself. This is not something I did to shed the yoke of Torah and commandments and covenant, and the tefillin are indeed a covenant. I wore them almost daily. Of course, I missed a few days, but I wore them almost daily ever since I was bar mitzvahed, even a little bit before, until my mid-30s. So you can call it nonsense if you want. Trust me, I don't think it's nonsense. But that's just me, and it does not apply to you. Okay. Ata shomer Shabbat, ken? Ani shomer Shabbat, the daily AI. I keep the Sabbath every single week. It is my favorite covenant by far, maybe even more than the Nazariteship. Of course, they both aim for the same thing, right? Shabbat is Malchut, and the Nazariteship is Keter. And Keter Elyon ihu Keter Malchut, says the Zohar, right? Elijah says in the Tikkunei Zohar. So yes, I keep the Sabbath, 3 meals, prayers, songs, hymns, Torah. It's lovely. I love the Shabbat, my queen, my bride, the Shabbos. I love her so much. Interesting, wasn't aware it's a machloket. So yes, it is a machloket. And again, I must say this. You don't rule halacha according to the Zohar. I know this. I get this. I only came to understand this, right, because I felt organically called to stop wearing tefillin. I had a very strong revelation, let's say, inside of me. You're doing the wrong thing. You're placing a physical crown of a dead animal of leather and parchment over what is your actual organic crown growing from within. The nezer of the Nazir, it says nezer Elohav al Rosho, right? Look, if you want to look into it, look into Ze'er Anpin and Arich Anpin, look into Karkafta de Tfilei and Karkafta de Lamanach Tfilei. It's there. I'm not making it up. Pardes Rimonim, Sha'ar Vav Perek Dalet, or Sha'ar Dalet Perek Vav, one of those. And I only know that offhand because I had a back and forth today with somebody in the chat. Free Yemen, free Palestine, I agree. Free Yemen from the Houthis, free Yemen from the terrorists, free Palestine from the warmongering, bloodthirsty terrorist regimes, and free the West Bank from the Palestinian Authority. May all war and bloodshed and conflict and murder and terrorism be taken away from all creation, even right now as I'm speaking these words, Israeli terrorism included. And there are Israeli terrorists, make no mistake. There are people who consider everybody in Gaza, every single man, woman, and child, and baby, and newborn infant who was born 5 minutes ago, to be deserving of death. I don't believe that. I think that there are innocent people living there. The numbers don't matter. There are innocent people living there, stuck between a rock and a hard place, between their terrorist, bloodthirsty regimes and between the IDF, who's fighting a defensive war in the name of Israel. It sucks. It really, really, really sucks. Let the Muslims be free instead of slaves. I don't know what that means, Luma Luminosi. I'm not sure what you mean, but okay. What is Shawwal? I don't know what Shawwal is. Make sure you bring a korban. Oh, no. I'm a Nazir Shimshon. The Samson Nazarite does not need a temple. The Samson Nazarite does not need an altar. And the Samson Nazarite has no tum'at met, no defilement of death, of a human corpse. So, I don't need to bring any sacrifices or any offerings because the vow is for life. Only Nazarites that are for a set period of time, Nazir Lezman Katzuv, or Nazarites that have, well, let's put it this way, only that type of Nazarite needs to bring offerings. A Nazir Shimshon does not need to bring any offerings. A Nazir Shimshon ein hatara. There is no annulling the vow of a Samson Nazarite, which is good. Part of the reason why I took a Samson Nazarite is because when I took it 15 years ago, I was still in reserve duty, right, in the IDF. And I'm a field medic. That was my military profession. And so I knew that I might be coming into contact with dead bodies. I did not want to take a Nazarite vow while I was still a field medic in active duty, or potentially in active duty, knowing that I could come into contact with a dead body. That would be contradictory. Also, I wanted it to be for life. Also, I didn't want to have to bring any offerings of any kind. The Samson Nazarite vow is indeed the most applicable to me and the most amazing path that I could think of, as far as the different Nazarites are concerned. Let's continue. Who can be a Chuwal? I don't know what a Chuwal is, man. I'm sorry. I have no idea what that is. What is the key of success in life, says Telecom to Cloud? Humility. Humility is the key to all good things. Humility is the key to all positive attributes. Humility is the key to all good personality traits. Go with humility in life, and all good things will come to you. And even if at a time it might seem, because it's a world of good and evil, that you're just working and laboring, deluding yourself like in vain, humility conquers all. Humility is knowing the right place on the right time, in the right thing, how to behave, how to speak. It's an amazing thing. Humility is the key. Humility is the crown on everybody's head, should they choose to accept it and embrace it. So I haven't learned Gemara Be'iyun ever since my yeshiva days. I was in yeshiva for 3 years before the army in Tzfat. I was in yeshiva for a year after the army in Tkoa, outside Yerushalayim. Limud Gemara, whether it's B'kiyut or whether it's Iyun, is a wonderful thing because you can learn what the Talmud is actually talking about, and you can glean insights from the Geonim, Rishonim, and Achronim. So I think it's a wonderful thing. Now, I haven't studied Gemara Be'iyun ever since my yeshiva days. I've studied some Mishnah be'iyun, a little bit, more beki'ut than iyun. Talmud, Yerushalmi, Bavli, I haven't studied in a very long time. And this is one of the things that I would love to get back to at some point. But I'm more into the plain old Tanakh. I'm more into the, on certain days, right? I love learning Pardes Rimonim on, Shabbos, Yamim Tovim, and those days. But it's a great thing. It's a really great thing. It can really sharpen your mind to learn the oral traditions of the Mishnah and the Talmud be'iyun. It really, really can. With all the mefarshim, it can do a lot. It can really do a lot. And you can see the difference. You can see the difference of opinion. You can see the difference of opinion and the way that the different traditions later on formed. And right, what we see in the Shulchan Aruch later on, right? It seems you've done your homework on Nazirut, LOL. I mean, I did my homework. It's a life I've been living for over 15 years. It's been over 15 years, just over 15 years since I took my vow. I take my vow very seriously. I didn't want to just do it with, I wanted to do it from the right place. I wanted to do it in a way which reflects truly who I am to the best of my ability. I wanted to live a life that is humble and righteous, and even though I missed the mark, and even though I have not attained this crown of Naziriteship, it's an ongoing process, but it is indeed what I'm shooting for. I am shooting to be the best Nazarite that I can be, the best Hebrew man that I can be. That's it. It's really that simple. Let's go. We have 58% of you saying silly. Life should be silly. 42% of you life should be serious, with 526 votes. All right. You look bonkers, dude. I love it. Thanks, John Moore. It's good. We're never going to survive unless we get a little crazy, said Seal. I mention it every time. The Daily AI says, have you tried learning Tanakh in the way Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Ishmael learned? Midot she'Torah nidreshet bahem. Let's put it this way. No, right, פרט הוא כלל, כלל הוא פרט, כן, דבר יצא מן הכלל ללמד, לא ללמד על עצמו יצא, אלא ללמד על הכלל כולו יצא, right, דבר ללמד מעניינו, ודבר ללמד מסופו, וכן שני כתובים, right, מידות שהתורה נדרשת בהם. Learning Tanakh in that way, no, I have not. I'm more of a pshat sort of person when it comes to Tanakh, although from the pshat you can glean a lot of sod about yourself, a lot of remez and drash that has to do with you. So, but no, I have not studied Tanakh in that way, I gotta say. Do you, Daily AI? Please tell me. I'd love to know more. I'd love to know more about it. Who are you? Says Suna Tulo Hamar. Who are we all, Suna? Who are we indeed? I'm Yonatan. Nice to meet you. I'm just a simple dumbass in the Middle East with a phone. That's all I am. That's all I ever will be. Why don't you wear the tefillin, but the flower helmet is fine? I wear some silly hats sometimes. I wear some silly hats. Yeah. Now listen, I'm really, with the tefillin, it was no joke, because I know I really disappointed my father. I know that for a fact. I don't know if he's come around and seen my point of view or not. My parents don't really, I think, all the way understand what this life is that I'm leading and what's up with that, nor would I expect them to, right? They're mainstream, orthodox, national, religious, dati leumi folk, religious hippies from the States. They come from the diaspora. They grew up a certain way. This is what a Yid does. This is what a Jew does. This is what my ancestors did, and this is what I do, and that's tradition. And that has a lot of merit. And I think that I am disappointing my folks somewhat with the way that I live my life, but I have to live my life. I can't live my life in the shadow of my parents. I got to do my thing. Looking like this guy and thinking you're superior in any way whatsoever, TH says. No, I don't believe that superiority crap. I don't buy into that divine soul, animal soul, the people of the nations, the Goyim are cattle, they're animals, they're below us. I don't believe any of that. I think we are just human beings. I go back to Eden. In Eden, there was no Jews and Gentiles. There was humanity, nature, the divine revelation. That's all that there was. I invite those Edenic elements into my life. I invite certain other Edenic elements into my life as well. It's simply the way that my mind works and how I would like to pursue life on this earth. Obviously, we are not in Eden, so there's a limit to what I can do. But the more that I live, the more that I immerse myself in the Torah and in the commandments and in the Naziriteship, for that matter, the more I understand that bit by bit, little by little, day by day, thought by thought, word by word, deed by deed, you can invite more of Eden into your life. It won't be ever 100% while you still are living and in this body, in this world of good and evil, but you can push the needle, right? You can be able to do what you can to tip the scales in favor of the Edenic element being more present in your life. So I don't think I'm superior than anybody. I'm just a lowly ignoramus, for sure. Good night, Jonathan. I think you're a very interesting, caring person. Thanks, Shield. I appreciate it. Good night to you. Good night to you. Ronnie says, my Yod Hei Vav Hei don't care if you're Jew or Gentile. Precisely. My point exactly. The Tana Devei Eliyahu, by the way, says the same thing. There's a midrashic teaching called Tana Devei Eliyahu, and he says that he calls the heaven and earth as witnesses. It doesn't matter if you're a Jew or a Gentile, a man or a woman, a slave, a handmaid, or a free individual. According to your deeds, the Holy Spirit rests upon you. And this is not the Christian Holy Spirit. This is the Hebrew Ruach HaKodesh, Spirit of Sacredness or Holy Spirit. A little bit different. Okay. He is Hebrew spoken. Oh, Yabasha, is the Hebrew spoken in Israel the same as the original Semitic one spoken by Moses? Is it different or Yiddish, European, Russian origin? So it's the very same Hebrew, a little bit different, right? A little bit different, but pretty much the very same Hebrew that was spoken thousands of years ago. That much is correct. SC says, just ensure to find a rabbi you can connect with so you can ensure you're doing the right thing. So here's the thing. As I said, grew up Orthodox in Jerusalem, Dati Leumi. I had rabbis all of my life until my mid-20s. I do not have a rabbi now. I do not. I consider my masters to be dead, right? Rav Kook and Rabbi Nachman. Those are my two dead masters, let's say. Now, if I do have a question in halacha, and that doesn't usually come up, because I've taken a step back from keeping strict halacha, and I pick and choose everything. I pick and choose everything, and I make no apology. So, I haven't consulted with a rabbi, let's say, on things outside of the Naziriteship. I haven't consulted or spoken with a rabbi with questions in halacha in a very long time. Now, that might change. Like I said, I'm not anti asking a rabbi, right? I'm not not against it. I'm just saying it's not my path. I am off the Orthodox derech, and I'm on my derech, which is a danger, and it might be detrimental, and it might cause damage to me or my family, but I had to go for it. I had to be myself. I bring up the Zen koan, right? Very, very, a lot, right? When you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. But I appreciate your suggestion to find a rabbi, right? Aseh lecha rav ukne lecha chaver, Pirkei Avot, right then and there. You're not Orthodox. Congratulations for escaping, Hawaii says. No, I have not escaped. I still do consider it my root and my home, right? The national religious Dati Leumi Orthodox community will always be my home. I will always feel comfortable in an Orthodox shul with an Orthodox prayer book. Thank God my parents raised me religious. It comes with a few detriments and it comes with a lot of benefits. Now, I'm not raising my kids religious because of that, but I'm hopefully raising my kids to be people of midot, to have good character traits. That's what I would like to have them most of all. Humility above all. That is what I teach them. So you can think of it as escaping. I didn't escape. I didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I simply took a step back from strict halacha. That's what I did. I'm doing my own thing. Did you trick God today, Poo-Poo Doo-Doo? I love the name Poo-Poo Doo-Doo 69. Yes, I have been tricking God pretty much ever since I've drawn breath. I've been tricking God. That's for damn sure. God is my, God is, I'm a trickster. I'm definitely a trickster. Here we go. Another Jew says, hey, Wire. Hey, Wire. How you doing? Do you hate Jesus Christ? No, I don't, Yurkozy. I consider him to be a Hebrew man who lived and died a Hebrew man. I do not hate him. I think he had a lot of smart things to say. I don't follow him as a living God, Lord, Savior, King, or anything like that. But he could have been a potential sage, prophet, Messiah, whatever you want to call it, until until he died, and now he's a dead man. That's it. No more, no less. That's all that it is. Ha'im Yerushalayim yoter kedusha mimkomot acherim, says Daily AI. So he asked, is Jerusalem more holy than other places? Here's the thing. Holiness means set apart, sanctified, sacred. In other words, that which you set apart becomes holy unto you. And we are commanded to set certain things apart for the benefit of our lives and those around us. And so when he asks, is Jerusalem more sacred? I'm inclined to say yes. The Mishnah says it, the Talmud says it, the oral traditions say it. Why? Because Jerusalem is where the temple was, which means that it already has taken itself outside of every other place on earth. And we set Jerusalem apart in the way that there is a temple. But even there is a hierarchy, right? Jerusalem is sacred because of the temple. Jerusalem is sacred because there are no dead buried in it. Jerusalem is sacred because that is where you can eat the maaser, the tithe of the food, right? That's where you can eat the fruit of the fourth year after the Orlah, the 3 years for the trees, right? It means that Jerusalem is sacred and set apart in a few different ways. So yes, it is more sacred because it's set apart. Does it make it better? Does it make it more important? Does it make it more, I don't know what? No, there are many places. Creation belongs to the Creator. Creation, as such, the entire physical multiverse of multiverses, belongs to the Creator. It doesn't belong to any specific individual, nation, army, people. We have borders, we have cultures, we have states and countries, and it's a good thing we have them. It helps keep sort of something aligned. Out of chaos will come order. But is Jerusalem more sacred? Technically, yes. Does it make me who lives in Jerusalem better or more sacred? No, not necessarily. It all comes back to the individual. You could live in Jerusalem and be a horrible person. A super chat came in. Hey, Eiler. People believe Palestinians are Canaanites. I can't get over how late to the party they all are. Some people screaming that the Bible is BS and now backing Muslim extremism. Consider Jewish POV for 1 second. Now, people sometimes do it and sometimes don't. People make the mistake of thinking that you may only follow one narrative. You're either pro-Israel or you're pro-Hamas for all intents and purposes. But no, you can be pro-Israel, but also see that some Palestinians, not the terrorist, bloodthirsty, warmongering regimes, but the actual people who are descendants of people who lived here for hundreds or thousands of years, they do have a certain claim. As much as one can have a claim, considering the fact that I just said that all of creation belongs to the Creator alone. We are stewards in this place. We are caretakers of this earth. We do not own it. We do not own this place. So, some people believe Palestinians are Canaanites. Palestinian comes from Plishti. Plishti comes from Pleshet. Pleshet is from the Greek Isles, according to academic research. I don't know what to tell those people. They can think whatever they want. Really, really, really. If you ever come back to the Orthodox path, PM me anytime for a Shabbat meal. Thanks a lot, SC. Although let me ask you, why is it only if I ever go back to the Orthodox path? What is it as far as you're concerned, and I hope I see your response in the chat, what is it as far as you're concerned that is barring me from being at your Shabbos table? I'm not judging you for that. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm curious. Because I have 3 Shabbos meals. I have Seudah Rishona, Seudah Shniya, Seudah Shlishit with my family, with Zmirot, with Kiddush al Hapat, because I don't drink wine, right? With Kiddush al Hachala. It's like we have a proper Shabbos. We take time to learn Torah at the table, usually, or just after the meal. We have guests over on occasion. We try to make it, we don't always make it a great day, but we try to make it a great day. Whenever my kids, they hate when I do this, whenever my kids want to ask something about the following week, I say, oh, there's a whole world until then. Yesh olam shalem ad az. What is it that's barring you from inviting me for a Shabbat meal when I'm not precisely on the Orthodox path? I'm curious. Don't want you to drive. Oh, no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't drive. I wouldn't desecrate the Shabbat in that way. I keep the Shabbat. So I wouldn't drive anyway. I don't drive on the Shabbos. I wouldn't want to do that even if... No, I wouldn't want to do that. The Shabbat is one of my favorite covenants. Over the years, I've been more religious and less religious, more observant, less observant, more keeping to halakha and less keeping to halakha. Shabbat is the thing that stuck by me the entirety of the time. I love that covenant. I love the queen. I love the bride. I love the queen Shabbos. So I wouldn't drive to you anyway. I would rather stay here rather than drive to you. Even if you offered me $1 billion to come to your house for a meal, I still wouldn't do it. I would not desecrate the Shabbos in that way. Or at least, I don't think I would. Welcome anytime then. Thanks a bunch. Where are you, says Roger. I'm in Jerusalem. And where are you, Roger? Luis Roger. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I do 2 Shabbats, says Ammonican. What do you mean 2 Shabbats? 2 Shabbats, incidentally, is what our sages say, that if Israel would keep 2 Shabbases, they immediately would be redeemed. I took a fat Shabbat this morning. Ooh, good for you. I mean, I don't poop in the morning, but there's nothing quite like getting up out of bed and going to the bathroom and dropping the kids off at the pool. Black Lexus, you took a fat Shabbat this morning. Right on, right on. DC says, I think we should all just get along and stop trying to force our worldviews, religions, supremacy, or anything. You believe in something that I don't, and that's okay. I thought the point was not hate. Yeah, ideally that would be the case. Ideally, right? All the nations can go in the name of their God, and we go in the name of Adonai, our God. You stole the land you live on during the Shabbat, says Bob Murlai. You are mistaken. I live in a neighborhood that was no man's land until after 1967. And so you are mistaken, and you're full of crap, and you don't know what you're talking about. And I actually, in this case, happen to know. I actually do. You know, I'm ignorant of a lot of things. I'm unaware of many things. There's more of what I don't know than what I do know, and that's a given. But if you're coming at me and saying that I stole land, suck it, because I haven't. Allahu Akbar, says Rival Kun. Indeed, God is great. God is actually Akbar. Kabir is great. Akbar means greater. So yes, God is greater indeed. Stone says the penny just dropped. Samsonite, Nazarite, Samsonite. Nice. As in Samson, as in the Old Testament, who had immense strength along as he didn't cut his hair until Delilah cut it. So your vow stems from this. Yes, I am a Samson Nazarite indeed. The penny just dropped. Yes, Nazir Shimshon. Now, there was initially a controversy in halacha on whether or not Nazir Shimshon is a proper Nazirut. But I definitely consider it to be a proper Nazirut, that is for sure. Oh, wait, something came in? No? Oh, I don't know, okay. If you side with Hamas even out of ignorance and hatred, you are supporting terrorism in my eyes, says John Anthony. I think that with the current state of the world, it's going to see one side or the other. Yes, well, when it comes to Hamas, definitely it's one side or the other. When it comes to the Palestinian narrative and the Israeli narrative, that's something where I can say there is a synthesis that can be arrived at, not a uniform one. It's better to take a look at both narratives and at the history, right? Proven, recorded history, unbiased as much as you can have. And see what was going on before the establishment of the State of Israel. See what was going on during the establishment of the State of Israel. See what's been going on since the establishment of the State of Israel. See what it is that you are actually seeing as objectively as you can, which is why I don't rule out the Palestinian narrative immediately. I think the Nakba is crap, but I don't rule out the Palestinian narrative in the sense of we also lived here. Obviously, yes. It's not about ownership. Like my man said right now, it's about coming along, coming together, bridging our differences, finding common ground, not hating each other on general principle. But it's a holy war, it's an ideological war, it's a spiritual war, it's not about territory, it's about Islam versus Judaism or some crap. It really sucks. That really, really sucks. Stolen land, says the Sir Roman. Once again, you're full of crap. Because there were 3 things that primarily made the land a Jewish land. First, a lot of it before 1948 was bought and paid for in full. Second of all, some of it is the spoils of war that Israel won in a war that it ended but definitely did not start. And third, some of it was just abandoned because the Muslim Arab leaders told in the surrounding armies that invaded, told the people, get out of your homes, we'll wipe out all the Jews, and then you'll be able to come right back into your home in a few days. But guess what? They lost, so they abandoned their homes and left them voluntarily. Those are the three primary ways in which Jews came to steal the land. However, I will concede this. There are certain fringe settlements that are stolen land in the sense of that it's disputed, it's not Israeli, it's not Jewish, whatever. People settle it, and only then, sort of retroactively, do they pass the law, or that they pass then the law to make it retroactively Jewish or whatever. That's something where I go, that might not be kosher, and I've spoken of this at length in the past, but that's it. Other things, no, I don't buy it. I buy it for a second that we're living on stolen land. Do you think for a second that if Israel did not win the War of Independence, they would allow us to live here as dhimmis and pay the skull tax, the jizya? Are you kidding me? They wanted the streets to run with rivers of blood, rivers of Jewish blood. They didn't want to make peace. They didn't want a two-state solution. They still don't want a two-state solution. They don't want peace. Israel has offered so many agreements, and all it got was more of the sword, more bloodshed, more Allahu Akbar, more suicide bombers, more completely insane, batshit crazy religious ideologues who glorify death. You call us cattle, says that's pretty cool, dude. See, you've been here before, if I'm not mistaken, and you know that I don't, so you're full of crap. I've never once called Gentiles cattle. Any kind of Gentile. I think human beings are human beings made in the image of God. So if it wasn't you, forgive me, but if it is you, that's pretty cool, dude. I think you have been here before, and you should know that that's wrong, that's false, that is not right of you, that is not kosher of you, because you know that I don't think that way. But okay. They were kicked out of every country because you are dumb cunt, now fuck off. Hey, Babylon hair. See, I'm Zion hair. See? I've got the Zion hair, you've got the Babylon hair. We should get together and make a hair festival. Yes, you are a dumb cunt, now fuck off. I'm not sure if you're talking to me or not, but I am a dumb cunt. I won't fuck off quite yet. Or I should quote Monty Python, how shall I fuck off, O Lord? What about the children killed, Echo says. Yes, blame Hamas, blame Fatah, blame Hezbollah, blame the Al-Aqsa Brigade, blame the Palestinian Authority, terrorists, the lot of them. They may have started as some sort of a social organization for the benefit and of their people, but they don't want to benefit their people. They oppress their people, and they rule them with an iron fist. Hamas is now a dictatorship, elected democratically, leading dictatorially, if that's a word. It's a dictatorship, and they don't invest any of the humanitarian aid, money, whatever, in their actual people, infrastructure, bomb shelters. No, let's build more terror tunnels, let's get more munitions, let's make more rockets. That's all they care about. People are dying, our own people, fuck them, whatever. Every Palestinian man, woman, and child that dies is glory to Allah, great for the cause, martyrs, shahidim, the lot of them. Hamas actually thinks this way. They glorify death. It's a disgusting death cult, all of them. However, again, the actual innocent men, women, and children, I feel for them. I hope they are able to overthrow their bloodthirsty regimes, and we can actually have peace. What's the meaning of Yom Kippur, says none. Day of Atonement, Day of Cleansing, something else. So, the Holiday of Atonement is the only, no, it's not the only, no, let's put it this way. The Holiday of Atonement occurs on the 10th of the 7th month, or the first month, right, depending on how you account it. And it's a holiday where Israel is able to invite a divine revelation so very high from the place where it's not good and evil, right and wrong, sin and merit. It's a place where it's at the root. It touches on a place that's called the Great Mother, let's say. It touches on a place called tshuva, returning, repentance. It touches on a place called atonement. And there were rituals corresponding with that idea. It was the only day where only the high priest, once a year, the high priest would be able to enter the holiest of holies and sacrifice and offer incense on top of the cover, the kaporet of the Ark of the Covenant. At the Second Temple, when there was no Ark, they did it on the foundation stone. They would have a few different sacrifices, a couple of goats. One would be slaughtered ladonai in the temple, around the temple, right, in the tabernacle or temple. One would be sent out to the deserts outside, right, the Judean desert, presumably, called Azazel, right, the Judean desert, and would be killed there, not slaughtered, shoved down a cliff, hurled down a mountain, depending on, or just set free, depending how you look at it. The idea is that we are cleansed and we are atoned for our sins collectively, but more than that, it has to do with the sins relating directly to the temple. The Chiperet Mikdash HaKodesh. The high priest would be the one who would do all of those jobs that day. He would not sleep the entire night of Leil Yom Kippur, the night of Yom Kippur. He would be up all night, and he would be up from dawn making all the sacrifices. Almost everything, 99% of the rituals and offerings would be done by him specifically. He is the representative of the people of Israel. The meaning of Yom Kippur is returning to our root. The meaning of Yom Kippur relates to the 50th year and the Jubilee, where the slaves are freed, the land goes back to the previous owners, the original owners, the tribes all get back their own pieces of land, by and large. There are some exceptions. That is the same spirit of Yom Kippur, of Chag HaKippurim. It's also my favorite holiday. My mother can't believe this. What? Yom Kippur is your favorite holiday? You know, you're the only one that I know that Yom Kippur is your favorite holiday. So we fast for 25 hours from just before sundown until the next night stars out, something like 25 hours. It's a day where we don't eat, we don't drink, we don't bathe, we don't anoint ourselves with oil, we don't touch our women, right, and abstain from sexual intercourse or any kind of physical contact with them, and we don't wear leather. Well, I'm vegan, I don't wear leather anyway, but you don't wear leather shoes. Some don't wear shoes at all. I've had Yom Kippur when I was completely barefoot. So the meaning is taking a time and letting go of the physical, not bathing, not anointing yourself with oil, not eating, not drinking, not wearing something on your feet, keeping your feet on the ground with nothing in between them, right? Connecting to the earth, connecting to your root. You come from the earth, Adam, Adama, right? Adam, earth. That's the meaning of it. Atonement, cleansing, and reaching the Great Mother, right? And drawing divine revelation from the Great Mother, or what is known as the revelation called the Great Mother. Thank you, very good information. Thanks, man. Now look into it. Don't take my word for it. There's a lot of amazing things that go on with Yom Kippur. Really, really, really. Good explanation of the holiday of atonement. So does the scapegoat symbolize the devil? No, the scapegoat symbolizes the devil's due. That's what the scapegoat symbolizes. It's the devil's due, because the devil does indeed, right? The adversary does indeed have a legitimate claim and a valid complaint against the people of Israel. These people are sinners, transgressors. They're going against your Torah. They're not fulfilling the commandments. Look at what they're doing. And on the day when he is actually able to bring his claim to the court, that's not Yom Kippurim. That is Rosh Hashanah, what's called the holiday of judgment, or the festival of trumpets. That's Rosh Hashanah, the new year. Not the biblical new year, the rabbinic, let's say, new year, the first of the 7th month. And so, a scapegoat is indeed giving the devil his due. Something like that. But it doesn't symbolize the devil. No. Even your ancestors... Oh, wait, I'm sorry. What happened? Sorry, the chat jumped. Something about my ancestors and sandals. I don't know. I don't know what it was. But okay. Image says, you're a Nazarite in the meaning you don't cut your hair and doesn't drink alcohol. No. Nazarites are allowed to drink alcohol. I don't, though. But Nazarites are only not allowed to drink what comes from the grape. So, wine, any kind of strong drink that has grape or wine in it, any kind of vinegar, raisins, actual grapes, from the seed to the husk. What's the point with the dead bodies that I've still not understood? The Nazarite man or woman detaches him or herself from the left side. That's why it's called Nazir Elohim, not Nazir Adonai, not Nazir El. It's Nazir Elohim. It's because the Nazarite is sanctifying life by detaching from the left side, the dark side, that symbolizes death. And in doing so, you harmonize with the middle pillar. That's why the Nezer of the Nazir is the crown, right? The Nezer, the crown from running down the center of the tree of life. So the dead bodies, is, first of all, I'm a Samson Nazarite, so I'm not defiled by dead bodies. It does not break my vow. But Nazarites that are numbers 6 Nazarites, whose vow is broken by coming into contact with a dead human body, that is because the dead human body is what's called the father of fathers of defilement, avi avot hatum'ah. It is the highest form of defilement, going back to Eden, where it came into creation because of the original sin of partaking of the fruit of knowledge of good and evil, not at the right time. So the idea is that the hair represents judgment, the grapes represent judgment, death represents judgment, and the Nazarite man or woman, they extricate themselves from judgment, and they attach themselves to what's called the Rachamim Elyonim, the higher middle pillar of mercy. This is not mercy in the sense of, oh, a three-legged kitten, I feel sorry for it. Mercy in the Toraic, right, in the Torah Kabbalistic sense, means the middle pillar, harmony, from the root to the tip, from crown to kingdom, the line that runs through all of creation. That is what the Nazarite attaches him or herself to. And that is why dead bodies, hair, and grapes are the thing. Okay. Does anyone search for the Ark of the Covenant? Tiho Merck asks. Yes, many people are searching for the Ark of the Covenant. I have no idea if they'll find it or not. There are different people who say that the King Chizkiyahu hid it in the catacombs under Jerusalem. Some say that it's in Ethiopia in Africa. Some say that it's in Egypt. Some say that it's in the Vatican. I have no idea where it is. Okay. Philip says, at least we know you're somewhat reading these things. And what is the fruit actually eaten in Eden? So the Talmud brings 7 different hypotheses, 7 different opinions on what it could have been, from wheat through, what else? You know what, I'll look that up quickly. I can never remember. The Zohar very famously says that it was grapes, which is why the Nazarite abstains from grapes. Hang on a second. Pri etz hada'at lefi Talmud. There were like 7 of them. Here, let's see. So, so it's the Talmud, and it's not the sages of the Talmud. It's a controversy not between the sages of the Talmud, but the sages of the Talmud bring it as a former controversy of the Tanaim, of the Mishnaic sages. Rabbi Meir said that it was the fruit of the grape. Rabbi Yehuda said that it was wheat. Rabbi Nehemiah said that it was a fig, because a fig is what is the fig leaf in Eden, right? Corresponds to that. What else? Etrog in the Midrash Rabbah, the external teachings, one of the external teachings, it says that it was an etrog, which is the fruit of the citrus fruit that we use on Sukkot. So it's not 7, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I remembered 7 for some reason, but yeah, 4. Oh, super chat came in. Let's see. Binary Ghost, how you doing? First, what is wrong with grapes? Also seems like that no dead body's vow is pointless. We all come into contact with what dead body eventually, our own. Yes. Now here's the thing. It's not pointless if you consider that there is such a thing as a red heifer, and there is such a thing as being defiled by death, and then being cleansed of the defilement on the 3rd day and on the 7th day, and then you are once again ritually clean, ritually pure, ready to do your thing, not defiled by death. Now, these days, everybody, halachically speaking, is defiled by death. We are all tme'im betum'at met. We are all defiled by defilement of death, except for Nazarites who take on the vow and extricate themselves from that defilement. Which is why, by the way, if you are standing in a graveyard, and this is halacha, rabbinic law, if you're standing in a graveyard, you're allowed to take a Nazarite's vow. The thing is that once you get out and you exit the graveyard, you may not come back in. The reason why you are allowed to say it in a graveyard is because in that moment you extricate yourself. You take yourself out of that equation and you become ritually clean and ritually pure. In fact, Rabbi Yehoshua Friedman of the Temple Institute, who I spoke with a few years ago, great man, he wrote a book called Nazir Elohim. I have it right here. And in that book, he hypothesizes that it will be Nazarite priests who are able to purify the rest of the nation. They will be the ones who will be pure, and not defiled by death, meaning that they will be able to be the one to slaughter the red heifer, take the ashes, sprinkle it in the water, take the hyssop, and get us all to be ritually pure again. Nazarite priests, ritually pure Nazarite priests. I read that and I was like, oh, of course, that makes so much sense. As for grapes, nothing is wrong with them. God bless the grapes. But, I miss grapes, I miss raisins, I really do. But the Nazarite abstains from these because of what they represent. There's divine revelation that comes into creation with every physical thing that exists in creation. It all comes down from the spiritual realms down here to the physical, undergoes different changes and undergoes different, influences. But eventually it all goes back to a certain root. The root of the grapes, the root of the hair for the non-Nazarite, the root of death. Right? It has spiritual implications and it has physical implications, which is why the Nazarite is somebody who abstains from those things. Isn't what it represents just an opinion, Whalen says? No, because if that were the case, right? If you're saying, oh wait, another super chat came in. Okay, I'll just address this. No, it's not just an opinion. Because if you read the halachas of the Nazir, and if you read into what those things represent in the esoteric texts, let's say, and you read what it says in Numbers 6, that the crown of separation is on his head. He is considered holy to the Lord. Why is this? What is it that would make the Nazir holy? What is it that would make him consecrated? Why is it that simply by making a vow, immediately he is elevated, presumably, right? Into this other sort of category that is above everything else, above even the high priest in some way. So it's not just an opinion, no. Okay, let's go. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, there was a super chat that came in. Hang on a second. Oh, where did it go? Oh, here it is, okay. Wait, no, I already addressed it? Yes, I addressed it, my mistake. Sorry, it was binary ghosts. I think. Did I miss something? Okay. Nun says, what's your name? Jonathan, that is my name. Where did Jews come up with this religious stuff, says America First 21. Hey, America First, good to see you. I'm not sure what you mean by that. It's very good to see you again. I'm not sure what you mean, which religious stuff. These things harken back to Eden. These teachings go back to the teachings that were taught to Adam in Eden traditionally, right? Adam, and through Hanoch, and through Noah, and Shem, and Evel, to Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, the 12 tribes, and here we are. It's a tradition that goes back until way before. Hallowed antiquity, all the way back to Eden. Now, this is not to say, like I said, there were no cultures and faiths and religions in Eden. There was humanity and nature and the divine revelation. That's it. But that's what the Nazariteship harkens back to. That is what the Torah harkens back to in the story of creation. We still have not partaken of the fruit of the tree of life. We still have a mission to fulfill, a job to do, right? A task to carry out. And we will arrive at Eden, God willing, together as a unified human race. May it be so. We will be able to transcend our bickering and suffering and conflict and war. Oy, my God, may it be so. Are you gay, says Peteras Gryffindor. Yes, I am straight, I am gay, I am bi, I am a lesbian, I'm non-binary, and I identify as a two-spirit pigeon, as an attack helicopter, and an M4 assault rifle. Those, my pronouns are... That's it. That's pretty much it. Temple and sacrifice bulls, as well as give food and drink offerings, as well as the sin and guilt offering, but after 70 AD, you don't have all of those. Jesus already did away with all that. Yes, Christians say that Jesus fulfilled the covenant, and now it's all dead and gone and null and void. Of course, Jews don't think that way in the least. At least Messianic Jews might. Ordinary non-Messianic Jews do not think that way in the least. The Torah exists and persists, and even though the bulk of the mitzvahs of 613 commandments is pertaining specifically to ritual worship, and what we are left with right now are the remnants, in the very same way that we are the remnants of the kingdom of Judah, we still have a job to do, a mission to fulfill, a task to carry out. We still are doing it. We are taking what we have, and we are making the crumbs into a feast. That's the way to do it anyway. Binary says, While this is apparently speaking of different sects of Judaism, this somewhat feels like it may have been born out of a type of caste system. Others will deal with dead bodies. We must stay pure. No, it's not a caste system, and I'll tell you why. Because you had a Nazarite for a set period of time. You had a Nazarite for life. You had a Nazarite that was made a Nazarite before they were bar or bat mitzvah, and then they can choose to fulfill it or carry it on for life. And so it's not a question of being holier than thou. It's a question of being holy, set apart, consecrated. It's not even a question of let other people deal with it. I don't think so. I don't see it that way anyway. But I'm a Samson Nazarite, so I can't really see. I can't really tell. Oh, look. The tribe of Levi, right, and within it, the sons and daughters of Aaron, right, the priests and the Levites and the Israelites, they deal with different divine revelations, and they all are part of the same puzzle that together brings unity to the masculine and feminine divine presence in the world. However, you can make the claim that priests have a higher calling, Levites have a certain calling, the Israelites have a certain calling. I don't like the hierarchy games, but traditionally there is this inverted triangle, right, of 1, 2, 3, priests, Levites, and Israelites, the priests on the right, the Levites on the left, the Israelites down the center. Reaction, Eiler says, reaction suggests the Promised Land series YouTube. Hey, listen, I still need to do the 2 videos that Robert Harrison wanted me to do months ago, and I haven't done it yet. And I told them I will do it when I have the time, and I haven't done it yet. And I have those to react to before anything. If I react to anything, it will be those 2 first. But please, leave a comment, not here in the chat because it's going to close and be gone until tomorrow, I think. Either way, please leave a comment on one of my videos, and I'd want to do that as well. I'll put it on my list. Okay. Rinky says, hey man, do you have an opinion on non-Jews folk learning Kabbalah? Look, I'm not a Kabbalist. I'm a student of the Tree of Life, but I'm not a Kabbalist. I think that if you're going to study Kabbalah, have it be a kosher form of Kabbalah with a kosher proper master, a kosher rabbi, if you can find one, right? A kosher Kabbalist, if not an ordained rabbi. Find a kosher Kabbalist who teaches kosher Kabbalah. Look, parts of the Kabbalah pertain to human beings as such. Parts of them pertain to the Hebrew man or woman as such. And so I'm thinking that learning about the Tree of Life and learning about the relationships between the divine revelation and creation and creator can be highly beneficial to everybody. Do I have an opinion? I don't know if people are going about it in the right way or in the wrong way. And I'm not necessarily passing judgment. I just know from the things that I've studied, and mind you, I still consider myself to be studying introductions to introductions of introductions. And I've been a student of the Tree of Life since I'm 16, and I still consider myself only but scratching the surface. And I can see how if you don't study it with a proper master, and if you don't study the proper form of Kabbalah, it can really, really lead you astray, really, really fast. And it's not worth it. That juice is not worth the squeeze. I think it can be very problematic. Tiho says, I heard Jews believe in some red cow as a sign of unification. Is that true? Sorry if I got it wrong. No, the red cow or red heifer, para aduma, is not a sign of unification. That is how defilement of death is cleansed. You slaughter a red cow, it can't have more than 1 black hair. It needs to be completely red. A red heifer that is completely heifer, para aduma tmima. A whole, right, that did not take any yoke, that worked no labor, that was just born that way. You slaughter it, you burn it, you take the ashes, you place it in, right, holy water, let's say. You take a branch of hyssop, you dunk it in there, and you sprinkle it on the one who is to be cleansed and made ritually pure on the 3rd day after defilement and on the 7th day after defilement. Does he shave his hair? I think they shave, do they shave the head? Or all the hair? I might be confusing that with the mitzorah, with the leper. I'm not sure, but yes, it's used in the purification ritual from the defilement of death. That's what it is. It's unification in the sense of going from being ritually unclean, ritually impure, to being clean and ritually pure. It's not a question of hygienically clean and dirty and not, no. It has to do with ritually cleansed, ritually pure, things that you are allowed to do, like go to the temple, or things you are not allowed to do, right? That's what it is. It's a status that's physical, but has spiritual implications as well. Binary says, so if the Hebrews are God's chosen people, I don't go with that rhetoric, by the way. I don't believe that. I think that we are all chosen as human beings. We all have our job to do. If Jews were chosen, it was for a specific task. Other nations for a different task. It doesn't make me better or wiser or more important or higher than anybody ever. So let's get that right there. Where did all these other people come from? Why bother making them? Why keep them around? Right, so I just answered that. Humanity, right? I go back to Eden. I follow the Edenic mindset. Humanity, not Jews. Humanity, nature, divine revelation. That's what there was in Eden. Human beings were made in the image of God. And even though it's a point of controversy with some people saying, oh, no, the Jews have a divine soul and the Gentiles have an animal soul, I don't go with that. I don't buy it. People can think it. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm saying I don't follow that. I don't buy it. Human beings are human beings, all of us made in the image of God. We each have a unique purpose. We each have a unique job to do. Your unique image of God, right? You watching me now with those eyes on a screen, watching my pixelated digital projection, you have a job to do. You have a mission to accomplish that's only yours, uniquely yours. The gift that you need to give to the world, as David Data says. Oh, sorry, I skipped over a super chat. My mistake. I had no idea. When? Hold on, I'll go back. No, I don't see any super chat that I missed. I don't see anything that I skipped. It doesn't show it to me on this on the screen where where I can look at all the super chats. My mistake, but I'll try and find it. People, if you can copy and paste it, can you copy and paste it in the chat? Incidentally, by the way, all of the money is going to charity. Google sent me an email today saying that all of the tax things are worked out. I thought it happened before, but now they sent me like a confirmation email, which means, God willing, in about 2 weeks, I should be able to get the money in my account. I will be as transparent as I can. I'll show you the analytics. I'll show you my bank account. We'll decide together where to give the money, and it will be awesome. Okay, let's continue. I still want to, if that dude paid money, I'm sorry. Hey, listen, if you did pay money, if there's any chance that you could cancel it and ask for your money back, or I don't know what, because I can't find another super chat here. I'm sorry, I can't find it. It's not here. I'm going to try scrolling back up in the regular chat and not in the super chat. Maybe it's there by mistake. I don't know. Hold on a moment. Bear with me, good people. This person paid money. No, I can't scroll back up either. I can only scroll down now. Sorry, man. I'm really, really sorry. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it was. I can't see it. Why don't Jews eat pork? I know that is forbidden, but what is the explanation, says Tiho. So the laws of Kashrut have to do with clean animals and unclean animals. It has to do with the Hebrew people being careful about what they put into their mind and about what they put into their bodies. And it has to do with the fact that you are what you eat. And that's also why I'm vegan, and it's also why I'm of the opinion that we were all made vegan in Eden, and I'm also of the opinion that we will all be vegan once again, and I'm also of the opinion that the third temple, if it is built, will be a vegetarian or vegan temple, because you are what you eat. And the reason why pork specifically is not eaten is because the outside is kosher, but it does not chew its cud. That's the third sign of a kosher animal. The other two being a hoof and a split. So the explanation is that primarily we are supposed to set ourselves apart from other nations. It's not a question of good or bad. It's a question of setting yourself apart in how we dress and how we speak and what we worship and how and what we eat, okay? And the way that we go about living in the world. And so God says to the people of Israel, you set yourself apart in all walks of life, everything, including what you are and are not allowed to eat. And our sages have likened it to a physician who comes to see two people. One of them has a terminal disease, one of them has a curable disease. To the terminal diseased, he says, well, do whatever you want, you're going to die, eat whatever you want, it's all good. To the one who might be cured, he said, oh, you need to watch out what you put into your body because you're in a process of healing, or you want to propagate, let's say, the good stuff inside of you. And so you need to watch what you eat. In the very same way, I'm not saying that Gentiles are terminally diseased individuals. It was just an analogy on why you need to watch out what you put into your body and what you put into your mind, right? Because you are working towards a certain unification of the divine masculine and feminine presence. Binary says, therefore, to be a person, you must eat a person. No, you are made a person. You are what you eat in the sense of that is what gives you strength. That is what gives you sustenance. That is what gives you vigor and joie de vivre. And if you mix milk, look, milk and meat represent the right and the left. Chicken and fish, let's say, represent the middle pillar. So you're not supposed to take the left and the right and combine them. We do not mix milk and meat. We keep things separate. You can argue over how long and under what circumstances, but that's partly why. Like I said before, every physical thing that exists in the multiverse of multiverses has a spiritual root. The spiritual root of dairy, right, is the whiteness, right, and the giving from the breast and that whole thing, or the teat of the cow, right? It has to do with that giving element. The meat is the blood and the slaughtering, and that is the right, and that is the left hand, the withholding, judgment, right? The right and the left, and then there's the harmony and the synthesis. Point is, what you eat has to do with the divine revelation coming into practice in this world, coming into physical form in human beings and in animals. That's why we keep the laws of Kashrut. Okay, hey, JP is here. How you doing, JP? Always bringing it with great questions. What is a sin that you struggle with, and how did you overcome it if you did overcome it? Anger. I have not overcome it. I have some anger issues. I have anger issues, you could say it goes back to the house I grew up in, or you could say, no, I just picked it up over the years. Anger is something, and communicating primarily with my wife and kids, because you see, I'm pretty chill. I get angry with the people who I'm close to, right? So anger is something, and that's a horrible thing to be. It's a horrible thing to be. I don't like raising my voice. I don't like being angry. I don't like being irritated by things, but I struggle with that, and I'm in therapy for that. So I have not overcome it, and I'm looking to overcome it. I'm in the process, God willing, of lessening it in my life, because I don't know if I will ever 100% overcome it. But I would love to, truly, be a lot more zen, a lot more peaceful, a lot more able to contain and welcome people's thoughts, words, and feelings. I would love it if I could be less angry. So yes. So full of shit, says ATI. You're darn tootin' I'm full of shit, but occasionally I go to the toilet and then I'm cleansed and my bowels are refreshed and I'm able to, not be as much full of shit. But if you're talking about conceptual shit, oh man, I'm full of so much shit, you have no idea. No idea. I'm completely full of shit. You should not be listening to me. You should not be hearing me. You should not be understanding me. You definitely shouldn't do as I do or do as I say, nor do I tell you to do that. But I am so full of shit. Let me breathe into how full of shit I am. Breathe into the shit. All right. Okay. That was a great shit comeback. That's right, Zaire or Zaire. Yes, a great shit comeback indeed. I am all shit. I am full of shit. So good. So good. All right. Seems therapy is working, bro, says Adrian. You know what? In some things it is. I went into therapy primarily to work on my communication with my woman, because things, maybe it's the new baby. I mean, he's 14 months old, but he was new at the time. Maybe it's the war, I don't know what, but I became shorter, right? My fuse became a bit shorter. I became angrier and more contentious. And eventually my woman screamed at me, just go to therapy. Because I went to therapy, what was it, 13 years ago, almost 14 years. No, 13 years ago, I was in therapy for almost 3 years. And it was really helpful. And so she said, look, man, you got to go back to therapy. So I did. So thank you. If you're saying that it's working, awesome. That's really, really good. Let's continue. How does he have a woman? I'll tell you, I met my girlfriend at 16 and I married her at 20. She was my first girlfriend. I never went through the dating thing. I never went through the, nothing. So how do I have it? Because I'm a silly, silly person who met a silly, silly woman who did not run away screaming for the hills. Also, I didn't have a beard, and I was a hippie, right? You can see photos of me from back then on the posts in my channel if you want. I have 10 photos that I put, like a series from age 16 until a couple of months ago, right? A progression from age 16 to 43, 10 different photos. If you want to check it out, you'll be able to see what I looked like at 16. So how do I have a woman? I don't know, man. You'll have to ask her. But I am so grateful and blessed to have such an amazing woman in my life, and I don't take it for granted. Definitely, definitely not. Okay. Let's continue. AA says, hello, my friend. I love how you talk and explain things. Keep it up. Thank you. I appreciate that. Douglas says, my girlfriend wasn't sure, but she said it could be postpartum depression if it's after a pregnancy. Well, are you continuing something from that you said earlier, or is this just out of the blue, Douglas? Postpartum depression is nothing to screw around with. If there's even an inkling that might be the case, talk to someone, seek help. Really. Because when you have a newborn, you are in survival zombie mode. Not zombie survival mode, survival zombie mode. That's a different thing entirely. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. To have a newborn, to have a baby, but to have a newborn is just a trip. I still can't believe we did it 4 times. Oh man. Dre says, please don't fall for this propagandist lies. Is defending the people that burn children while interrogating opposition. Where the hell do people get this shit? Give me proof. You know what? I won't say it's shit. You are speaking the truth, but I'm still going to require proof. A, that I'm a propagandist. B, that I'm lying. C, that people burn children while interrogating opposition. Please show me. I mean, on the one hand, I don't want you to show me, but on the other hand, on that hand, okay, what? Okay. I don't expect you to know, but what exactly is the nature of the centuries-old feud between Muslims and Jews? What did you all do to each other? So I'm not Muslim, I haven't studied Islam, I will when there's peace, but until then I stay away from the Quran, I stay away from the teachings of Muhammad and the Hadith and all of that, so I can't tell you as far as the Muslims are concerned what it is. I can venture a guess, which is that on the one hand the Jews are the people of the book, which they acknowledge, and on the one hand they were given the land of Israel, which they acknowledge, and on the one hand they say that we are Bani Israel, we are the children of Israel, which they acknowledge. On the other hand, they say that the covenant is dead and gone, our covenant, and that theirs is the presiding one now. There was a final prophet, a final revelation, and we must submit. That's what Islam means. It means submission. And as long as we do not submit, even if we are the people of the book, we still can't hide behind that title, and there needs to be animosity. Also, anywhere that Muslim conquered is now Dar el-Islam, the house of Islam. Anywhere, any place that it has not conquered, or was conquered and then anyway, any place that it has not conquered is Dar el-Harb, the house of war. That's it. There's just places that Islam rules and places that Islam does not rule yet. The nation of Israel was under Muslim rule, which means that technically speaking, it must be reconquered by Islam. This is what it says in the Hamas charter. Israel exists and will continue to exist until Islam obliterates it. I'm paraphrasing. For this reason. Now, there have been many centuries. You talked about a centuries-old feud. When there was a caliphate, or certain caliphates, under certain kingdoms or rulers, Muslims treated Jews really, really well, gave them freedoms and respect, freedom of religion and of worship, right, of rituals. So it wasn't always the case that there was a feud. However, nowadays, I don't know why, because I'm not Muslim, that feud is, oh my God, you can see where it is. So yeah, so I can't really tell you why. It might be because we are a thorn in their sides, because if the people of Israel still exist, it might mean that the covenant between Israel and Adonai still exists. And if that one still exists, it means that theirs might not be the final one. And if it is the final one, then we are heretics and non-believers for not accepting Muhammad, peace be upon him, as the prophet, and the final revelation, and the Quran as the final book and the final word of God. So however you want to spin it or look at it, we're not doing right in the eyes of the Muslim believer. Now look, I'm a fan of Islam in the sense that I think the 5 pillars are an amazing way to live. I think that the 5 pillars of Islam is really, really a wonderful pillar to stick in the ground. Really, I do. Okay. O01 says, in that case, Hindu people exist, so they have a covenant with God? I'm not sure what you mean. It's not a question of existing. It's a question that we had a covenant with God, and Muslims acknowledge this. That's why we are the people of the book. They acknowledge our prophet, the father of all prophets, Moses, Musa, Nabi Musa, and they acknowledge for the Christians, Isa, Jesus, right, was also a prophet. They simply say, and after the Hebrew faith, after the Christian faith, came Muhammad, the final faith, the final revelation, the final prophet. And that he ascended, right, and all that, and got the Quran from the Archangel Gabriel, right, if I'm not mistaken. It's not a question of merely existing makes you a covenant with God. First of all, you have a covenant with God if you choose to go that way, because you're a human being made in the image of God. If you live a righteous life, a humble life, a good life, and you try to do good for yourself and the people around you, that can be a covenant. And if you say, God put me on this earth to be a good person and to help others and to do good things, and that's definitely a covenant. That's a kind of agreement, a kind of pact. I'm a creation, but I will be doing the will of my creator. There is something about that may be considered a covenant, an individual, personal covenant. Yes, I think so. Many times, I'm sorry. Hang on a second. I'm sorry, okay. 01 says, many of times, therefore God sent down Jesus with the message, and you should accept him as a messenger. Fair enough. I just think that he's a dead man. He's not a Lord or Savior or prophet anymore. He's dead. That's all that he is, just a dead man. He may have been a righteous man, for sure, a potential king and Messiah and all that, but he's dead. We do not follow the dead. We follow the living. Bassist said it would be great. What bass do you play, by the way? Are you more of jazz, rock? What do you do? It would be great, he says, if humanity could wake up to reality and stop identifying through myths. Race and religion do not exist. There is no covenant through those means. I'm inclined to disagree. Not that we should wake up to reality, but identifying through myth and stories and legend and lore is something we have done since forever. If you're going to say that it should not be that way, and we should wake up to reality, you must, at the very least, posit a reality through which we can advance, right? The scientific method has its merits, for sure, but it still doesn't explain, or even make an attempt, really, in these days, to explain the idea of consciousness and its role in the individual, and why expanding one's awareness is beneficial, and why it's beneficial to take on a yoke and a burden. Do you see what I'm saying? And that is what religion brings into the picture, despite all of its pitfalls and its detriments and its horrible, horrible problems, and it does have those. There's something about religion, even man-made organized religion, and I'm not going to put them in a hierarchy right now. We have different values, we have different systems, all well and good. Religion as such does have a lot of benefits for the individual, and it's not so fast that it's going to be taken away. You're talking about waking up to reality. What reality is it that we will be waking up to if we forsake all of our stories and all of our myths? What is it that we will wake up to? Do you not think that we will replace it with another way to fight? I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. Binary says the Christians and Muslims fought over the Holy Land for like 200 years. A lot more than 200. And now you guys have it. Well played, Jews. Hope you can hold it this time. Again, I don't think of it in those terms. We are stewards and caretakers, all of us, human beings. If Jews screw up and don't keep the Torah, they'll be kicked out again. They will be kicked out again if they turn away from God. If they don't keep the Torah, they will be kicked out again. The Torah is very clear about that. And it was a lot more than 200 years. Maybe you meant to write 2,000 years? I don't know. But it was a lot more than just 200 years. All the different crusades, right? Follow your destiny. Hi there. Orders to. So why are people saying? Okay, wait. Muslims orders to kill Christians and Jews. So why are people saying Jews are to blame? I'm not sure what you mean, because I don't know Islam and I don't know Christianity in depth, or not even at all. I would not claim to have. Something happened? I'm back. Okay. I would not claim to have any knowledge of actual value on Islam and Christianity, other than perhaps what I've been told by people who say I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian. And I know that it's not it's a nuanced thing. There are many sects right? You've got Sunnis and Shi'is and Sufis. You've got Catholics, and you've got Protestants, and you've got Lutherans, and you've got Mormons, and I don't know. I mean, H. Busta, he's a hippie Jew. I do have my hippie moments, right? To be hip means to be aware, and that is partly why I'm here in this world, like the rest of us, right? To expand my awareness and to elevate myself, Okay. Why have you chosen to remain ignorant on these religions? It's not a question of, well, I've chosen to remain ignorant on Islam because I would not be able to approach it with me living in Jerusalem right now. I would approach it from a place that is so biased and so influenced by war and bloodshed and terrorism that I would not be able to give it a proper chance. And I would love to explore the Quran and the teachings of Muhammad from a cleaner place, a purer place, a more objective place to the degree that one can be. And I won't be able to do it now, so I'm staying away from that. As for Christianity, I know enough about Christianity to rule it out. They say that Jesus is God. The end. Like I say a lot, I don't mind that he was born from a virgin, let's say. I don't mind that he lived and died. I don't mind that he was resurrected. I don't mind that he performed miracles. I don't mind that he ascended. The only time where it truly breaks away from Torah for me is when they say, oh, and he's actually God. Nope, no God in flesh, no God incarnate. That goes against the Hebrew path. And so that's enough for me to know that it's not for me. The Christianity is not for me. And Islam, I know, does not have a God incarnate, so I'll be open to studying it more. But I did read the New Testament just the once, as I've said before, and I really enjoyed the Gospel, and I did not enjoy any of the rest of it, really. Not Acts, and not Revelation, and not the letters. It just didn't speak to me in the same way. Okay, let's continue. The only thing you care about is being an original piece of shit begging for attention on the internet. Really? I'm begging? I'm just talking to people. I'm having conversations with people. People, some of you have been here for months or years. Have I ever begged for attention online? Maybe I have. I don't think I've ever done that once. Ever. But I might be wrong. As for being an original piece of shit, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks a lot, Caden M, 5428. 5428. I appreciate the compliment. I don't know if I deserve it, but I appreciate it. I try to be an original piece of shit. I'm not, but I try to be. All right, let's continue. Follow your destiny. I'm Christian who's been studying the Quran for 1.5 years. Hey, so any insights? Follow your destiny on the Quran? I'm curious. The Quran is not the original, says Robert. It has been rewritten in many places. So you're saying that the Quran that is now seen as the Muslims' holy Quran is not the original Quran? That's interesting. What do you think about the IDF, says Bernadette? Well, I was a soldier in the IDF ever since age 20 until my late 30s. I was in mandatory service and reserve duty. I was a field medic and an infirmary medic. So that's what I did. What do I think? I think that the IDF doctrine is altogether good and that we are fighting a defensive war, but I do think that there are some directives or doctrines that need to be taken out because they are not okay. Then again, I'm not actually a high-ranking general, nor do I need to answer to the Minister of Defense, so I have no idea. But I do know that there are some individual IDF soldiers or commanders that do inhumane things and do commit atrocities. They need to be, I condemn that, and I condemn them. They need to be put on trial. There needs to be real justice for peace to occur. Real justice for all sides of this conflict. Real justice. And that means that if people in the IDF in uniform abuse their position and cause atrocities and commit crimes, they should be put to trial. That's simply the case. However, this is war. This isn't a fairy tale, right? This isn't some clean laboratory experiment under specific conditions. No, this is fucking war. Innocent people die in war. People make horrible choices and decisions in war. Morality and ethics have their place in war, yes. Israel does try and follow international law and the rules of engagement, yes. There are times, I haven't been in that position, mind you, so I can't say. I thank God I've never been put in that position in all my time in the army, but there are people who are faced with very difficult choices. I don't know what I would choose in the face of those, circumstances. I don't know. But I do know that we need peace and we need justice. We need justice, real justice for peace. People listen to Tovia Zinger, says H. Busta. Yeah, I've heard some of Rabbi Zinger's stuff. He has his he knows what he's talking about. Your eyes say otherwise. What do you mean your eyes say otherwise? I'm not sure what you mean. Are you talking to me, WTF Haggis? Haggis. Makes me think of groundskeeper Willie. Let's continue. Would you say you are a Zionist? Yes, Sam Curran, I'm a Zionist, but I don't excuse what people do in the name of Zionism if it's evil. I don't excuse Zionists and Zionism if it's propagating and perpetrating wickedness. I think of myself as a Zionist in the very classical biblical sense and somewhat in the modern day sense. I'm a civilian here, right? And I live in the land of Israel. I was in the Israeli army. I'm part of this society. I just don't excuse what certain people do in the name of Zionism and say, oh, okay, they're Zionist, it's fine. No, Zionism has its detriments. People who are Zionist and who are carrying out evil deeds in the name of Zionism are not doing Zionism any favors, nor are they doing Zionists any favors. The army of Muhammad will be back, says Khabib. Hey, Khabib the Eagle. Yes, so they say. They say that the army of Muhammad will be back. I don't know what to tell you. Drewster says, I like how genuine and honest you are. Hard to find these days. I respect you for that. Thank you. Look, there are times when I'm less genuine. There are times perhaps when I'm less honest. But I strive, truly, earnestly, to be as genuine and honest as I can. This is not a persona. Right? This is not me faking anything. This is not me saying things for clicks or likes or views or subs or I don't know what. I don't have any clickbait titles. I don't work on my thumbnails. I'm not begging for attention on the internet. I'm here to have conversations with people. I'm here to expand my horizons and elevate my consciousness and discuss, religion, spirituality, and faith and self-development in a very down-to-earth way. I want to keep my head in the clouds and my feet firmly on the ground. Oh, this super chat I saw that it came in. I heard you say Samson was the greatest Jewish person. Samson was the greatest Jewish person? No. What I said was that it could be that because I'm a Nazarite of the Samson variety, I would say that. But no, I didn't say that he was the greatest Jewish person. I don't think I did. I think I said that sort of in passing, where, you would think maybe I would say Samson, but I don't think I said that. Off the top of my head, it happened recently. In the last few live streams, someone asked me, who's the greatest Jewish person? I don't even remember who did I go with? I don't think I went with Samson. I think I went with, was it Adam? Was it Moses? I don't recall who I went with, actually. I'll have to look back at that video, or maybe one of you who was there remember what I said. How was he so great if he failed so bad? He got his hair cut, his eyes poked out, he was touching dead things. I feel like he failed as a Nazarite. Yes, many people agree with you that he was showing you the failure of the Nazarite-ship, which is why some people say that the Samson Nazarite-ship should not be emulated, should not be followed, and definitely should not be taken by people these days. Oh, another super chat from Binary Ghosts. So where did all those other gods go? Baal, Moloch, etc. If they were false, unreal, then how did people end up worshipping them over the true God? They had to be getting something out of it, right? Yes. Look, here's the thing. Just like in the Greek and Canaanite and Roman pantheons, people populated the sky and nature with their own psyche. In other words, all of the different deities, the god of war, the goddess of love, the god of fruitfulness and wine, okay? All of the different gods, all of the different deities, they have to do with how we project our own psyche into creation. In the very same way that our ancestors populated the sky with the constellations and made connections where they were not there initially. So, it's not a question that they were unreal. They were definitely real. They were false for us, the Hebrew people. They were foreign deities that we were not allowed to follow. However, they were very, very real for those who followed them. We are simply commanded not to follow those in the very same way that we are commanded not to worship the sun and the moon and any creation. Why? Because it's a creation. And we are not allowed to worship those foreign gods because they are foreign to us. But Baal certainly was a deity. Molech, Kmosh, they were certainly deity. Dagon of the Plishtim, definitely they were deities. So, how did people end up worshiping them? Because it was a real thing. It was a real thing, right? Baal Peor, for instance, where you would defecate in front of the statue as part of the ritual worship, or all kinds of ritual, orgies and sacred sex festivals and all these different sacrifices. Of course they got something out of it. It's just that the Hebrew people, God tells the Hebrew people through Moses, all of those gods are still around. You do not worship them. Don't worship them. You go for the root, right? Baal corresponds with a certain lower divine revelation, and Molech represents a certain lower divine revelation. And we are not meant to worship revelation. We are meant to worship the root, the divine, the Most High God, as such. Again, it's not a question of better or worse, this higher and lower, this hierarchy of deities, right? In the Hebrew faith, there is no pantheon. It's not a polytheistic thing. But we do know that there are foreign gods and other deities, and those things were real, in the sense as real as deities can be. You can think it's all bullshit, of course. But yes, they were getting a lot out of it. For sure they were getting a lot out of it. I don't doubt that for a second. That was real ritual worship. God doesn't exist, says Willis Moore. I agree, God doesn't exist. God is a word, right? And that we attribute to the divine. The divine does not exist, because if you exist, it means that you also cannot exist. It's a duality. Everything in this world is a duality. We live in a world of good and evil. And so if you say God doesn't exist, I say, yes, that is correct. God does not exist. That's a name. It does not exist. Okay. Let's continue. Elohim exists as image Elohim. Right, okay, see, and here's the controversy. Elohim is a name. It corresponds with a few different divine revelations, right? And the Great Mother, and the left side, and kingdom, and the lower feminine. All of those three are attributed to the word Elohim, to the name Elohim. But God is not three, God is one. Many names, one God. And God does not exist in the way that I think of existence. If I can perceive it, if I can conceptualize it and speak of it and feel it and know it, it is immediately not God. If I can say God exists, I am by definition not talking about God, but about a revelation that I can perceive, that I can say exists in reality. And so God is everything that we don't know, right? God, the actual true nature, if you will, of God, is that unknowable, untouchable, unfathomable, inconceivable thing. And as such, it does not exist, because I cannot conceive of it, and so I cannot know that it exists or does not exist. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay. Real question, are you a Messianic Jew? No, I do not follow Jesus. I'm not a Messianic Jew. Sorry for the repeat comment. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm curious. No, I'm not a Jews for Jesus. I don't follow Jesus. I don't follow any kind of Messiah. And I'm not Messianic. I have respect for Messianic Jews, sure. I've studied with Messianic Jews. I've conversed with Messianic Jews. A lot of Messianic Jews are very knowledgeable, particularly with Tanakh, right? The Hebrew Bible. But no, I'm not a Messianic Jew. I think Jesus is a dead man, no more, no less. Not a God, not a Savior, not a Lord, nothing of the sort. That's all. Is there an optimal amount of children to have in a Jewish household, asks AA? As many as God will provide you with, and as many as you can actually provide for. That's, I would say, is the optimal amount. That's what I would say. But I don't think so. I know that Israel is the only Western country that is above replacement rate. We have the highest birth rate of any Western country. The rest of them are just tanking. And even if you take the ultra-Orthodox and Muslim population, ultra-Orthodox, the Haredi community, call themselves ultra-Orthodox or known as ultra-Orthodox. I don't believe there's such a thing, but for all intents and purposes, even if you take that out of the equation, the regular Orthodox, national religious, if you will, and the secular people in Israel, the Jews, they still have more kids than, a lot more by far, than other Western countries. So we are definitely ahead of the curve on that one. Thoughts on Ben Shapiro, says AA. Does he even speak Hebrew? I'm assuming he's an Orthodox Jew. I'm assuming he speaks Hebrew. As for thoughts, I think he speaks very well. I think he needs to be of some intelligence to go to Harvard Law School. I might be wrong about that. I think he can articulate a discussion very well, but I don't know, since I don't live in the States and I'm not really into the, I don't know that it's not my forte, right? So I have no idea. But my thoughts, that he's a sharp talker. I'll give him that. But I don't know. Things that I've heard him say are very, very cool. But I'm sure that he can make mistakes like any other individual. I had no idea you were doing a dress up today. I might be underdressed for this chat. Have a great day, brother. Thanks, Rob Shot. iPod. Thank you. Appreciate it. Wait. Was there another one? I'm sorry. Hang on. No, there wasn't another one. Okay. Wow, I've been on for over 2 hours. It is almost 1 in the morning. Okay. I think I'm going to go say goodbye. Yes, it's been just over 2 hours. Wow, how lovely has this been? I am so happy. Each and every one of you, those watching now, those watching later, I don't take it for granted that I push go live and there's a conversation here and you're engaging with me and people are donating to charity on this channel. As I said, I haven't been paid yet. The channel was only monetized recently. As soon as I know what's going on, I'll photograph my analytics. I'll photograph my bank account. We'll decide where that money goes to. You good people have raised over $1,200 US dollars so far for charity, and that, God willing, will all go to charity. I will show you. I'll give you the receipt, whatever it is. I'll try and be as transparent as I can. Until that happens, there's a couple of weeks until the money comes into my bank account. At any rate, thank you, each and every one of you, those watching now, those watching later. I deeply appreciate it. I don't take it for granted that you're here. You could be doing anything else right now, but you're here with me, live, raw, magical, from Jerusalem, all the way to your screen, and it's happening right now, and it's awesome. I appreciate the subs and the likes and the views and the haters and the spam and the trolls and the vitriol and all the things being slung at me. It's wonderful. I love the engagement. The more engagement, the more YouTube sends people into the stream, and then the more people can discover this channel. And those who are supposed to just swipe away, they swipe away. And those who find that the discussion is enlivening and animating, then they stick around. And my channel has been growing. The YouTube algorithm has been so very gracious to me these last few months. It's so wonderful to be on the receiving end of so much. I'm grateful to the Most High God. I'm grateful to you good people for sticking around. God willing, I will see you on another live stream coming up. I don't know if tomorrow or the next day, I don't know. Tomorrow, right, is the Holocaust Remembrance Day here in Israel. We remember and we do not forget all the millions of the Jews that died and all the millions that died in World War II. May we know no more war. May we know justice, peace, and prosperity throughout all of creation. May war and bloodshed be taken away from creation, even right now as I am speaking these words. And may we live together. My God, we need peace. On that lovely note, be blessed. Be a blessing to others. Be the light in other people's lives. Do good things. Feel good. God willing, I'll see you next time. Until then, goodbye from Jerusalem. See you on the next live stream where the wonders never cease.